I might end up sharing this a second time to a bigger group because I feel like people are going to be interested in seeing this, hopefully. But I've started down the path of getting a handle on the PyHC dependencies that we have, and I've got, I think, a good way to visualize any conflicts, and it comes along with the fun ChatGPT story. So that's what I was going to talk about for a minute here. Pardon me, just one moment. I think I can share my screen here, but need to fix my video real fast. Okay, I'm going to be sharing this desktop. Cool. All right, first of all, spreadsheet. Hooray. Hopefully everyone can see a spreadsheet. Yep. So here's sort of what I'm thinking about. So I got a tool installed in my Python environment now called pip depth tree. Don't know if anyone's played around with that much, but it's a useful thing for just listing dependency trees. It'll basically just go through either your Python environment or any package you pointed at, and it'll list all of the dependencies for that project specifically. And then in a tree-like structure underneath each dependency, it'll list all of its dependencies. The output's a little bit redundant and pretty messy, but you can use it to do things like generate nice tables like this. So what I've done is basically taken every package that you need to have an environment of just the core PyHC packages, the 7 of them. That's Happy, Komodo, Plasma Pi, PySat, PySpeedas, SpacePy, and SunPy. So first of all, fun fact, it requires 158 individual dependencies just to have that much in one Python environment. So we do have quite a number of requirements here. But then now I did this part by hand. So this took me a little while, maybe like 4 days to actually do, just reading off terminal and correcting things. But basically I figure out the valid ranges of all of these things too, and that's the middle column here. So
so that's valid for that is the largest set, which is valid for all of the PyHC packages.
Exactly.
Around.
Yes.
Okay.
So like with this, NumPy is actually probably one of the clearest examples, because surprise, every single project uses NumPy, and so many things have different requirements. And it's like, based on all the various, the dependency webs of these, we could have NumPy between version 121 and 124, which is fairly restrictive already. And then it can't be exactly 1.15 for some reason.
Because there was a major bug I think it was on Windows for that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can get rid of that not equal 1.15 because obviously it's superseded by the others.
Yeah, but
that one came from SpacePy clearly.
I think it actually did. Yep. I do think I remember that.
And I think it's not relevant anymore because with main right now we are requiring like 1.16 or something. I think because we had or maybe 1.17, but part of it was we had a couple of ones that were reasonable new minima, and not having to deal with 1.15 was a
Oh yeah, that was a good motivator for you.
Yeah.
That's fun. So anyway, you're seeing just a whole bunch of green blobs here because it actually is possible to have, even though it's kind of a big one, it's possible to have one Python environment right now with all 7 of the core packages. And the nice thing about this visualization is that it also lets you see, how many dependencies each package has. Like, Plasma Pi has a whole bunch, while Happy only has like 9. And so there's some other nice things like that. But
so is this just direct dependencies, or is this including recursive dependencies?
Including recursive dependencies.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
Including recursive dependencies. And so now the idea then is basically to expand the table sort of, I've got this bad package column over here just to show how I plan on visualizing that, which is just, now go through all of them and assume the environment with the core packages is like the requirement, because they're the core ones, right? So anytime there's now a package that has any kind of conflict, mark it in red and then say what its version requirement was. So once I get this filled out to the remaining, like add 50, however many packages are left, we'll have a nice green and red visualization of basically what all of them look like. And then I think at that point, we'll finally have an idea of how bad the problem is, and then we'll know who to point fingers at. And then we'll have a list to go off of and start correcting it. And this works us towards the goal of, eventually being able to have just one Python environment where every single PyHC package can be imported, and maybe start to make some rules around when you can release changes to your packages that would break compatibility with the greater environment, and blah, 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 get everyone more on the same page. So there's half what I had to present. Just I finally have a decent idea for visualizing and getting a grip on the stuff. And
So Sean, I've got a wrinkle on that, which is so SpacePy has a number of soft, actually very soft dependencies, which is we don't actually ask for them in pip because they're only useful if you're going across. Right. So
yeah,
AstroPi is a good example, right? We don't ask for it in pip because we only have it for the sake of being able to convert to AstroPi time and coordinates. But
yep,
we then do have a requirement that if you're doing stuff with AstroPi, you need to have some minimum version. Now, in our
gotcha.
case, it's something like 1.0, so it's not terribly constrictive.
But there is potentially more information about what you might need depending on which optional features you want from SpacePy there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess I'd almost prefer that to you saying that you require AstroPi when, there's maybe only a 1% of the time someone might need it, I guess.
Yeah, so we've got, to digress a little bit, we've got the stuff we need to run. We've got the stuff that we think you really should have, which we actually set as a requirement in pip, but if you install via, no deps, it'll still work.
Yeah,
And then we've got the stuff it's like, if you have this, we'll play with it for the sake of compatibility, but we're not going to use it otherwise. Which we don't ask for in pip just because the assumption is if you need that, you'll have it installed. If you care about AstroPi, you probably have AstroPi.
gotcha.
And if this is a more general thing that you find, it'll be interesting to talk about. If this seems to not be a more general thing, feel free to follow up with me offline. Just
Yeah,
it's just our special case doesn't get too confusing to people.
no, absolutely. I appreciate that. But let's see here. Yeah, we do the same thing Eric says about PySpeed S. Okay, cool. Well, then, I mean, this is still sort of the starting point, I guess. So even if there's
Absolutely.
some hand picking that could be done to flesh out the table or anything like that. But something that I wanted to spend just a second talking about because it's entertaining for me is how ChatGPT sort of is inspiring how I'm moving forward with this. So like I mentioned, I came up with this sort of idea and crafted this table by hand, like, by actually reading off terminal output and, right clicking and highlighting things green and stuff. And then going back and saying, oh, nope, 37 is less than 38. So let me update this number, or, things like that. I want to automate that now because I am not going to do that a second time by hand. And this is the sort of thing that easily lends itself to being automated. And especially because we have so many packages remaining, a script could bust that out and fill out this table, in a matter of seconds or a minute or so. So I won't sit here and scroll through ChatGPT's output and have everyone read our whole conversation, because that's like showing, someone your favorite fever dream. No one really cares that much about it. But What was interesting to me is that kind of the approach I went to seeing if it could even be helpful with this is I started the conversation from the angle of like, hey, I just made a thing. I want to explain it to you and see if you can maybe help me automate it. And we'd actually been talking about PyHC dependency conflicts earlier because I used ChatGPT to get some ideas on, what dependency tree tools exist and how do people normally get a grip on this kind of problem? Because obviously it's got to be a common thing for Python developers. So anyway, it was sort of primed. And it did a very good job of me just starting off by explaining first, like, all right, so imagine a table, and on the left column is just one column of dependencies. Now, are you with me? Yes? Okay, cool. And I'd say, now the second column is the versions. Are you still with me? And it would say yes. And then I would say, now I want to add columns for the packages, blah, blah, blah. And we got to this point to where I was kind of just like, now we'll highlight things green if the package requires that dependency is within the allowed range. Do you got it? And it's like, yes, I understand. You're essentially creating a matrix with each row corresponding to a dependency and each column corresponding to a package. And you're highlighting cells green if the given package requires that dependency is within the allowed version range. So it's able to give verbal feedback that it understands the idea. And then I got down to a point to where I was saying, okay, cool. Now I'm going to be automating this with Python. I would like you to, it suggested some, what's it called? Some packages to work with Excel that I actually hadn't heard of before. I'd heard of this package before, but I hadn't heard of XLWT. I went and Googled it real quick, and yeah, it's a real thing. Actually, gets use and works with Excel files, etc. And then it's got this nice 5-step plan for how I'm going to be going through and automating this. And then it's like, do you want to start on steps 1 and 2? And, do you have your Python environment set up? Let's do this. And that's sort of what I'm going to go through later today. I think after this meeting is I'm just going to start letting it make suggestions. And I'm going to throw the code into scripts. And if I need to tweak things, I will tweak it. So this, that's how ChatGPT development tends to be going. But I don't think this will take me more than, a couple hours of ChatGPT to finish out a script that will automate this. And then I can start sharing it with people and we can do stuff. And I just thought that was a fun example of being real productive with this tool. And I'm encouraging everyone else to really, I'm trying to shout this thing from the rooftop because I'm one of those people who's really impressed by it. But yeah, that's how that's going for me. And I don't know that I have a whole lot more to say about it, just that, I've been meaning to tackle this project for a long time, and then I didn't get to do it in January because the whole stop funding thing, and, now we're back on it.
Would it make sense to, where you've got your green boxes, to actually put whatever the version requirement in is?
Yeah, I thought about
you go
that
across
too.
the line and you pull all those together and do whatever calculation to figure out the
Yep.
minimum or maximum or whatever. So
That would make a lot of sense too. And I'd had a version of that at one point in mind. So luckily, since I'm automating this, that can become a simple flag, whether or not you want to include the versions in the output or not. So
Yeah, it would seem to make sense to have, I mean, the underlying data structure, whether or not it's in the output, have that. And I presume that you can feed a whole list of PEP whatever compliant versions into something and have it give you this output. You don't have to do that by hand.
yes, precisely. Yep.
Yeah. So if it
Um,
is,
I'm trying to think if I have a terminal window open with that already showing. And no, I think I closed out all
so
the
that should
terminal
be
windows.
fairly automatable, soup to nuts.
Oh yeah, no, it would be this is the kind of thing that easily lends itself to automation. Yep. And hey, if this kind of thing is useful enough, I'm doing it with Python, so it could be its own PyHC package if people sort of like this kind of
Ooh, recursive.
Yep. If people like this functionality, that could become a thing.
Although honestly, it would be an interesting thing to feed up to PyPA.
PyPA.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just make it more of a general
Yeah,
Python.
if
I
you know,
mean,
if I need to use these things together, because it kind of you're basically exposing a dependency resolver here.
yeah, that's basically what's going on. Yep. And what's it called? I guess I maybe could show to if I is people seeing a desktop with PyHC test? Is that what people are seeing? Do you see a dependency tree? Yep, thumbs up. So you can generate visualizations like this too with the same tool that I'm using, but they get so unwieldy and crazy so quickly. Like this is just Plasma Pi, not even everything else in the environment. I think the whole environment with just the core packages looks like this, and it gets so crazy that you have to like zoom in to start reading things. So there's tools that make stuff like this that aren't super helpful. And I was just kind of surprised that I couldn't find a tool out there that, made visualizations more like this. And this was the best way that I could get my head wrapped around it. So maybe this is a thing that people will like, and it might fulfill some need. We'll see.
So I just had a thought, because the automation makes, pip has that support for having different features, where you put the brackets after the package name.
Uh-huh.
It might be interesting considering as a PyHC standard, of just using a common tag if you say, I want everything, right? So okay, I want to be able to interoperate with everything you can interoperate with, and please just go and grab those versions and report that information out. Well, be print everything or something like that. And I could also see cases where maybe it makes sense for the package to be aware that it's trying to go into a unified PyHC environment like this and doing a bracket PyHC. And then maybe that would also involve relaxing or changing some requirements as necessary to, if we had a lot of red on here.
Yeah. I know this is something we don't have Sandy on the call, do we?
I think we actually do.
Oh, hey, look at
Yes,
that,
I'm
Sandy,
here.
you joined. Yep, I know this was something that me and you specifically talked about in Chicago, Sandy. So I was gonna say, hopefully this is starting to make you think happy thoughts with how this could involve the Helio Cloud effort and stuff. And
Yeah,
help
because
out that
the
kind
issue
of
with
thing.
Helio Cloud is we want to provide all the PyHC packages, but mutually incompatible versioning is a problem. But we haven't actually documented what what the incompatibilities is. So this really helps move that forward. Yeah, does this have any clashes other than that AstroPy package? Is that the only one breaking the build?
Oh no, this is nothing's actually breaking the build right now. This is just I wanted to show someone what a red box even would look like, so I just arbitrarily stuck two of them on there.
So you made up bad package. Okay.
Yeah. You can ignore that row or that column, sorry.
Is there any thought of having like a yearly release or every 6 months release or something where it says, look, this set is all compatible right now? Like some software projects do that. I know that like the Eclipse IDE did that. Hey, every June we have a release and everybody should be compatible for that release. And then we kind of have that as a target, maybe just for core packages and then voluntarily for other ones, or I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, that's absolutely the direction we're trying to take it. And one of the mechanisms we've been thinking about for that would be the PyHC gallery, because once if you remember, we're actually making a new version of the gallery that's implemented with JupyterBook. And once we get that out there online, we're going to be encouraging all package developers to submit at least one example for their package to the gallery, just so one that we flesh out the gallery of examples on how to use our packages. But that gives us a reason to have an environment that's using a very large amount, if not all, of the PyHC packages. And we kind of can't do that without having a valid environment be possible. And if we ever do get to that point, we sort of had the idea of integrating into the CI job for the gallery, regular checks of like, hey, have there been package updates since this one working version in this gallery? And if there have been updates, can we run it against this checker to see if any new dependency conflicts got added or things like that? So yeah, we've been thinking about going that direction. And yeah, I don't really think I have anything more about that, unless anyone had any last thoughts or suggestions about it. Julie, I think you did have some spring planning stuff to talk about today.
I had I mean,
Hey, what's up, Bobby?
the other thing would be fun to do. I mean, probably not possible, but would be to go through all these libraries and see what routines they actually have internally and kind of categorize them and see where there are gaps and overlaps. But that would require the chat GPT or something to do all the work, because, you know, interpreting
Doing that from a
the
human
language
level
of
is
the
pretty
different
hard.
routines. Yeah.
Yep.
But that seems like an important
That actually is something
project
that's
if we could accomplish it. But
that's somewhere on my to-do list. Actually, is what I was at one point we were talking about trying to generate a matrix of like all the functionalities that all the PyHC packages offer. Like, what can you accomplish in heliophysics if you have all of our tools available, and then make a matrix of which packages offer what functionalities. But that's, yeah, like you said, that's an even harder problem than this. So that's
well,
It's
we've
tough because not all the
talked
packages are high level, some of them are like, find CME, and then others of them are like add one to integer, just to give a hypothetical example. And we want to make sure the helper routines get separated out from the ones that are user facing or scientist facing.
true.
yeah,
and even
think,
some of those could be merged. I mean, if there were better versions of them in one package than another. But
and we've talked about having a taxonomy of functionality and the packages self-describe, which is a starting point, and I think we maybe need to build on that a bit, but then it makes it, assuming self-reporting is accurate,
Yeah.
it then makes it easier to cross-check, at least on where there's overlap in the self-reporting, if nothing else.
Yep. And we kind of do have keywords in the PyHC website.
Yeah,
to track
exactly.
that, at least at some granularity. And we've had some hackathons at some previous meetings to flesh that out for package developers to add some of their own, and for non-developers to add keywords for the projects we thought were missing, etc. But yeah. Maybe that's the segue.
Probably, unless anyone else has anything else to say. Other than good work. This is a really good first stab at handling all of this.
Thank you. You can't take all the credit. I'm an AI buddy here. But let's see. Did you have anything to share along with this, Julie, or was it just?
I just kind of had a little list of ideas, but I don't know that I need to necessarily share it. And I don't know if this will be a long discussion or not. I just wanted to get some thoughts, feedback, make sure I'm doing what the people want, kind of thing.
Well, I think I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen anyway. So stop.
Yeah. I don't know if I need to. Well, it doesn't hurt to share it. Why not? Cool. Okay, so basically, just wanted to share some initial thoughts I had for the 2023 meeting, since we had an opening in the Telecon. Currently, unless there's some big conflict everyone knows about, I was thinking of doing our spring meeting in mid-May. And finally, hybrid on site at last. We can maybe talk about the fall meeting, being somewhere else. But for now, I figured we could start at good old last. But a Tuesday to Thursday, that way everyone could still have their weekend and maybe just travel on Monday, leave on Thursday kind of thing. And I just booked a room in one of our buildings out for 3 straight days. But I was looking at the schedules for past in-person meetings, and in the past we did kind of a 2.5 day idea, but maybe we could extend to have 3 full days depending on what topics people want.
Nice. Julie, I think I can maybe mention I'm having my 10-year high school anniversary this year. That dates me a little bit, but I think it might be in May actually. Turns out I'm one of the people leading the planning committee, so I have some power over when that will be, but I'll let you know now that there is a non-zero chance I might end up being in Jenks, Oklahoma for my reunion in May.
Well, hopefully that's on a weekend.
I mean, the actual reunion itself definitely would be on a weekend, but if I have to like fly home or something,
Okay,
I'll try to make it not exactly this week.
that'd be ideal. That'd be nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess just keep me posted. Cool. So as far as topics for it goes, I was just gonna base this off of what we did in the past meetings, which, you know, our virtual ones have been pretty well based off of this too. But there's the usual like core project presentations, updates, that kind of thing. We could bring back some lightning talk ideas, maybe updates from non-core projects. If there's student work being done within core or non-core packages, we could have them get a chance to like present, highlight their efforts, that kind of thing. Ever since we started virtual meetings, we took away on conferences. I tried it fall 2020 and that did not work on Zoom. But I always thought that they were a really fun opportunity to sit down and, you know, dig deep into a topic that people wanted to talk about in person. So I think it would be cool to have them back again. There's always the idea of tutorials and hackathons, but I thought it might be nice if we could maybe talk about some kind of broader idea we could do for these things. Maybe the tutorials based on core packages, maybe the smaller package could be using the core package integration, you know, more about integrating PyHC. And then the hackathons, maybe we can come up with a cool project beforehand using core packages doing something all together in PyHC, which maybe we could even bring in HelioCloud again for that. I don't know, have people work on the common environment. So those are my thoughts so far. So I was curious on your thoughts. Do people still like this format? Is there something else maybe I should be integrating into this? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, just of course, where my head's at right now, I'll point out that I did have some thought in mind of maybe trying to address dependency conflict issues, especially if there are relevant package developers there. Yep. So that would be more of a hackathon idea though. So to directly answer the question of do I have any feedback on the format, nothing new jumps straight into my head.
Cool.
But definitely gonna have an in-person component this time. That's like confirmed.
Yeah. I already booked LSTB A200 for those 3 days. So we'll have
Perfect.
a place. And I wanted to just get those dates out and then announce it soon. So whoever can and wants to make it in person can, you know, book flights and things of that sort. Yeah. I don't know. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns?
Anybody on this call planning on actually making it all the way to Boulder for it?
I know Rebecca really wants to.
If I can wrangle up the funding, yeah, because I don't think I've been to one of these in person in quite a while.
I'll probably be online.
Just depends. Yeah, I like him better in person for sure.
Mhm.
I also like excuses to go to Boulder.
Yeah, it's a horrible place to end up, I know. Well, cool. Well, if there's less comments on it, that means I'm still going in the right direction. So I take that as a
I guess so.
yeah, for sure. If anyone has some cool topics that they think should be brought up, of course, you can always Slack me, email me, whatever. I'm very open to ideas and thoughts and getting more cool ideas into our meetings. So just keep me posted. But for now, the dates have officially been announced, and I will make sure to send these again in the follow-up email to this telecon. So yeah, start thinking about how to get here if you'd like to. All right, well, if there are no other thoughts or walk-on topics, we could go ahead and wrap early. Does anyone have anything else in general they wanted to bring up?
Mhm.
Cool. Well, in that case, we can
right.
just go ahead and wrap for our next telecon. March 6th, the topic originally planned for today was the Helioswarm mission overview and dive into that. So we'll just do that March 6th at our next telecon instead, when it's not also a federal holiday.
Yep.
So,
And if I have a finished table of dependency stuff by then, I might at least flash it on the screen at some point during that meeting so people can see how much green and red there is.
that'd be cool. Yeah, I'll be sure to carve a little time if that's ready. Cuckoo. All right. Well, that's all I have for today. So see y'all.
All right, I guess that's it. Yeah, good to see you guys. Talk to everyone later.